Hi Leute, also wenn man sich jetzt natürlich fragt, warum das jetzt hier so komisch aussieht, warum ich hier zweimal zu sehen bin. Ja, Leute, es ist einfach ziemlich beschissen. Ich sitze hier gerade mitten in der Früh hier und muss ja natürlich dieses Video nochmal erneut aufnehmen. Das Blöde ist, das ist das einzige Blizzcon-Video, wo ich einen kleinen Fehler gemacht habe. Und zwar habe ich das Mikrofon nicht aufgenommen. Als ich das nämlich gemerkt habe, habe ich mich natürlich super drüber geärgert. Und jetzt muss ich hier eine ganze Stunde hier verbringen, obwohl ich eigentlich was anderes tun könnte. Aber es ist nun mal leider so. Ich könnte natürlich auch einfach, ich brauche nicht mal direkt das Video so neu aufzunehmen, wo ich eigentlich da drauf bin. Denn ich könnte eigentlich immer noch von der BlizzCon-Seite selber könnte ich es eigentlich aufnehmen. Aber ich dachte mir einfach, komm, ist bestimmt lustig, mich selbst zu sehen, was ich da mache oder so. Außerdem möchte ich auch irgendwo gerne wiedergeben, was ich auch da gesagt habe. Deswegen, also labern wir nicht einfach drüber weiter und fangen einfach mal an. Entschuldigung, falsches Dings.
Welcome to SoundCraft, inside the world of sound design.
Sounds need to be informative,
immersive,
satisfying.
and immediately
Es sieht wirklich komisch aus, mich dabei zu sehen.
Tell the player who's doing what. And
While recognizing players' progress and achievements.
Inspiration almost always comes from a familiar sound.
Something that players might subconsciously recognize and connect with.
Sometimes we use sounds in unexpected ways.
Ja. Ja, da sage ich irgendwie gerade was von selbst eine Achterbahn nehmen so auf.
Sounds can come from the kitchen,
Nature.
Or even a pet.
sometimes they
No.
require travel. And lots of patience.
But when you find the
Es
right
ist schon
sound,
wirklich
you know
erstaunlich,
it's in your
wie
guts.
Blizzard sich halt Mühe gibt, wirklich jedes kleine bisschen als Geräusch für ihre Spiele zu verwenden.
After you've heard it 1,000 times and you still like what you've done, you know others will as well.
Today,
Das muss im
with
fertigen
your
Video
help,
bestimmt dämlich
we're
aussehen, wenn wir beide hier irgendwie
iconic sounds.
oder mein früheres Ich hier so fast das Gleiche machen.
Hey, how's it going, BlizzCon?
Thank you so much. What a great welcome. So, SoundCraft, eh? That's this thing that we're at right now, this panel. Welcome to SoundCraft 2018. We did this last year. It was
And
so
it was
cool,
awesome.
and people liked
Super
it so
fun.
much. We're doing it now this year again.
Diablo.
So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, awesome. So, last year, the format, we recorded stuff, we processed
Das ist
stuff,
definitiv
and then
Diablo.
we played back stuff. And then you heard this stuff in context with some iconic Blizzard animations and visuals. And this year, there's some similarities. Still the same SoundCraft. But there is some added features in this one. There is some stuff that we're going to go deeper, and we're going to actually show you all more like it's going to be like a series of classes, like a crash course. We've got some great stuff, right, Chris?
That's right. So
Yeah.
we've got a lot of great content to share with you guys. And to kick things off, we wanted to show you how we created a sound for
Kowalski.
Diablo Immortal.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure many of you had the
Es gibt immer einen
opportunity to
Kowalski,
check out
genau.
the Diablo Immortal demo this weekend. Hopefully, it's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if you managed to make it to the end of the demo, you probably came across a demon by the name of Purus the Decimator. And he looks like this. He's got a huge sword,
Yeah.
loves fire. He summons his demon buddies,
Yeah.
he rides a horse.
sieht so geil aus,
How
einfach
cool
aus.
is that?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
pretty cool too.
So
Yeah.
we wanted to show you how we created some of his sword swings.
Yeah.
And I have a
Ich könnte eigentlich vorwegnehmen, was sie jetzt da machen, aber ich finde, das erklärt sich davon selbst, was für Sounds kommen. Oder was es am Ende sein soll.
Yeah, well, it's not that kind of sampler. So the sampler that I'm referring to is an electronic music instrument, kind of like a synthesizer, but instead of getting its sounds through voltage-controlled oscillators, it gets its sounds through samples or recordings that we feed into it. So in this example, we've got 3 separate samplers with 3 separate layers. And the first one, I'm going to have Pedro play for you.
Okay, cool. So just to kind of break it down a little bit further, what you're saying, Chris, is that if I play some notes over in the lower part of the register of a piano, or MIDI controller in this case, it's going to play back slower and lower in pitch.
That's right.
Whereas if I go a little bit higher over here, it's going to be higher in pitch and going to play back the sounds faster.
That's correct.
Okay, that's useful information.
Yes.
So anyway, so what's the first layer?
So we got some fire.
Okay.
Pretty awesome, yeah.
Pretty cool.
And so the next layer we have are some animals.
Es ist schon erstaunlich, was man mit einem Synthesizer alles machen kann,
Pretty vicious.
Yeah, pretty
Sometimes
cool.
we like to throw
Schon
animals
krass.
in there because it kind of makes it sound a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, I like that.
And then the last layer we have are some sword sheathing sounds. Because since he's got a sword, he's got to make it sound like a sword. It can't just have
true.
fire and animals, right?
Yeah. So what does that sound like altogether?
Stich.
Combine them all together, you get this. Pretty cool, I think.
I think that's pretty cool. So there's like a performance aspect. Thank you, guys. Wow, that's cool. So this is cool, but you know what? This is great, but you know we couldn't bring swords in here that are sharp enough to be able to show you and recreate the stuff.
They wouldn't let us in.
They wouldn't let us bring fire.
Yeah, because we would. Yeah, that would be a disaster.
It's a horrible idea. Yeah. So and they also wouldn't let us bring animals.
Oh.
I mean, they let us in, but
Yeah,
that's as close as they got to the animal portion of this. But you know what? In the spirit of Purist the Decimator, Chris, go ahead and decimate the session that we have right now.
All right.
Get rid of the tracks that we have. We're going to start all over, and we're going to actually. This is what the portion of SoundCraft is: rock and roll sound design. We're going to show you how you don't need a whole lot to get started on your sonic journey. I know that out there is a sound designer waiting to be born. Not like that. Maybe, I don't know. Somebody's pregnant, but I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, so like we get the question all the time, how do I get started in sound? So who here is a musician? And just raise your hands. Okay, great. Guitar players? Got guitar players? Great. Got piano players? Great. I don't really know any other instruments besides those 2. So anyways, so that'll take forever. So like, we're going to show you again. Where do we start? What's a useful sound for us to start that you need a lot of?
Whooshes.
Whooshes. Those were whooshes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though whooshes, it's kind of a funny name, but whooshes are kind of like the bread and butter of sound design, and they really sort of represent, an expression of movement. So anytime you have like a projectile that flies by you, or even a character that jumps from, here or off the stage onto a ledge or whatever, it's generally represented in a whoosh.
Yeah, right? and we use those all the time.
Yeah.
You can never have enough whooshes. You could quote me on that.
Yeah.
That's a thing, because there's never enough when you need them. And it's always something that you need to do, like either at the beginning of a project, so that you stockpile a lot of these elements to be able to use later when you don't have a lot of time. So having this kind of ammo in the bank is great.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, again, like this is SoundCraft, so we're going to record some stuff, right?
We should record some whooshes.
We absolutely
Give them an
should.
example.
So, okay, so we need something moves a lot of air.
Yep.
So what do we have here that can move a lot of air? So Felipe Pereira, everybody.
Whoa.
Da ist ein Assistent gespawnt.
Pereira from the Heroes of the Storm team.
With the battery. God, where'd you get this thing?
And how convenient, he has a bed sheet.
Hat noch auf seinen Auftritt gewartet.
Why don't you grab the mic? And so what we're going to do is we're going to show you again.
Sir.
We're using an extremely humble rig in this case. It's not, we had a
Also so schlecht wie Entscheidungen wie Diablo sind. Das sind schon echt Verrückte, die auf jeden Fall Spaß haben. Das sollte man schon auf der Arbeit haben. Da klingt der.
So now, Chris, walk us through what you're doing here.
Plupp,
I have
plupp,
no
plupp.
idea.
Alter.
What I'm doing. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea how these are going to sound because, you know, this is probably not the most ideal.
Wenn ich sehe, wie schnell er das bearbeitet, ich wünschte, ich könnte das so
But we are
machen
gonna
mit
do our best to
dem ganzen,
get
ey.
some decent
Aber
wishes
ich würde
here.
mit den
So I'm pretty much
Tastaturkürzel
editing all the
durcheinander kommen.
Unwanted noise out. I'm going to apply some quick fades. And I'm actually going to do something pretty cool. And I'm going to take these sounds and I'm going to magically transport them into a sampler using a script. And then Pedro's going to be able to play those back for you guys here.
I got a feeling we're gonna need something with more texture too. So I don't know where you got this, but we need to get more something with texture. You got it? Okay, cool. All right, so I'll play this stuff back now. Ready?
Pretty cool.
Ja, es klingt schon so ein bisschen nach Feuer.
There might even be a whoosh with a laugh in
So
there.
leicht.
Because I think, yeah.
Was there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's okay.
That's okay. I mean,
Ja, halt wieder so eine
I was gonna say,
kleine
that shows you that it's being done
Feuerexplosion.
live. So again, so this is a good start. This kind of gives us like some movement and some air in here. But now I think we need to, it's starting to come together, starting to give us something interesting.
Yeah.
I think what we need is again, we need something with more texture.
Texture.
I don't know what
Felipe.
Dieses plötzliche Auftauchen.
A paper towel.
Kind of curious what's behind that table.
Who would have thought? A paper towel could be used to make sounds. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start ripping these paper towels. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some here. Okay, are you guys ready to go?
Yep, rolling.
Here we go.
Immer weiter und weiter zerstören.
Yeah.
So they're super subtle, but watch what happens when Chris
Oh,
does whatever
flup.
it is that he's doing. I still don't know what it is.
Ein Klick und schon hat
He's
er
just editing
sie.
the stuff. So I need to think we're gonna
Alter.
with this as well. So we need something that.
Let me just play this back.
Right?
Okay, that's not a paper towel. Right?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. So here we go. Chris, what do you got?
One sec.
Ah. Okay, so now this has got a little bit more texture.
Those are paper towels. And it's starting to kind of sound
Das
a
ist
little
schon
bit like
zusammen,
fire.
ey.
Yeah, in my opinion.
Beide Sounds
So what
zusammen.
happens if you combine this with the stuff that we recorded earlier?
Das ist krass. Es ist erstaunlich, wie das klingen kann, wenn man das zusammenfügt.
I mean, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I think at least, yeah. So again,
So im Spiel würdest du es gar nicht vermuten, aber wenn man es denn in einer Vorstellung sieht, ist das meine Fresse.
It's not quite satisfying enough.
No, we need
that crackle.
We need crackle.
We need that crackle. Ah, perfect. A tape gun.
Das ist
Where did you get this
bekloppt
stuff?
einfach, ey.
Ah, thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Well met. All right, so we're gonna record tape. Apparently, we're recording tape gun now. So here we go.
All right, rolling.
Here we go.
Schöne Kleberoller.
Do you want to try crumpling some of that up for me?
Sure. So, again, this is basically going to be a twofer, I guess, right? Because we have some here in the form of those that crackly stuff at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then we have something more with the I don't know what I was doing there. I was just crumpling that stuff up, but
I think all the stuff is going to be usable. The thing is you have to have the willingness to fail.
Es geht so schnell bei ihm,
When
ey.
you're trying to create sounds, it's probably one of the most important aspects of what we do. Because you never know what's going to work. I mean, who knew that we could have created a fire sound from paper towels, right?
yeah.
So we don't know what we're going to get here, but I'm going to take these, throw them in a sampler. I'm going to chop these up separately, which is the crinkling, and I'm going to put those in their own sampler.
Cool.
And one more time. All right.
Nah.
So you should be able to play those back. I think that'll work.
I think that's pretty cool.
Let's add in the paper towels and the mattress. Bet you. So if we had an animation to
Dum, dum, dum.
we can
You can like, wait, why don't you pantomime this? Like maybe we can.
Schon
I mean, this is gonna be,
ist was draus
again,
geworden
this
aus dem
is live,
bisschen.
so who knows? All right, ready?
Das ist so bescheuert. Alter.
Wow.
So geil.
So, in conclusion, thank you so much, y'all.
Genauso viel Spaß muss man einfach haben, ey.
You know, listening out of context. It's about, you know, subjectivity. Sometimes the greatest sound that might
So viel
find
Spaß
home
hatte
is
ich,
something that's
hatte
just
ich
like
nie auf der Arbeit.
this inanimate object that is,
Muss
you
man
know,
mal dazu
that
sagen.
when coaxed into doing something will do something cool. But again, you have to have the willingness to fail. And I think another way to look at it too is that every sound will find a home. If you have a sound that you record right now, like this kind of stuff right here, maybe it's not useful for what you're working on at that moment. But in the future, at some point, that sound could be the sound that saves you. That could be the one that's like, oh, this is perfect for this one instance. So don't ever throw anything away. It will find a home, I promise you. So unless there was anything you wanted to record by chance, Felipe? Oh yeah, you wanted to, so we didn't really talk about creatures. So what if you can't, you know, afford to go out and record a lion, or, you know, like, or a lion sometimes might not be willing to talk. It might not do anything when you go out to it. So what do? Okay. So let's see. I guess this is the encore. Here we go.
Oh nein.
1 second. Let me make a new track.
Okay, cool.
Unarm these. I have a feeling this could be interesting.
All right. Okay, here we go, I guess.
Roland.
Cool. Pretty cool. I don't know what that was. That was awesome. Nicely done. So, I mean, in the spirit of doing the performance aspect of this, Felipe, why don't you perform yourself and take your time? You're good.
1 second. Let me.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Flup, 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 flup,
Get
flup,
these into a
flup,
sample
flup.
form.
There we go.
Go for it.
All right. Don't be nervous.
Das
Like a
klingt.
mouse. Whoa. It's like a little creature.
It's pretty cool. So,
Alter.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you think about it, Felipe Prayer, everyone. It really is, you know, the truth is in the ear of the beholder.
Ja, es scheint das Schöne am Synthesizer zu sein, weil da, alleine daran kannst du schon einfach mit Tastendruck schon sagen, ist es eher tief oder ist es hoch? Finde ich gut, als wie wenn du es, finde ich besser, als wie wenn du es da so, ja, so merkwürdig da einstellst die ganze Zeit so nach Gefühl.
Thank you guys.
Hopp, hopp.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to sound design class.
Ja, jetzt kommt StarCraft.
So, there's a saying in sound design 101, which is,
Jetzt
see
sind
a
wir dann
dog,
gerade.
hear a dog. And for many Blizzcons now, sound designers have demonstrated all manners of techniques in creating the sound of that dog. Let's do one right now. Here's a quick excerpt of a cutscene from StarCraft II, Legacy of the Void. That's Kerrigan, the Queen of Blades, with Jimmy Raynor, and we are going to create the sound of her turning her head. So how do we approach that? Let's take a look at her.
Muss man StarCraft eigentlich zu Ende spielen?
Well, she's covered
Ist
in
doch gar
bony
nicht durch, ey.
fragments, held
So lange wie
together
das schon bei mir
by
liegt.
infested Zerg tendon, wrapped by sinewy tissue, kind of reptilian clad, pretty leathery.
Ey,
And
meine
I
Nase.
have the perfect objects for that leathery sound. A belt and an old
ich hab
worn
Hunger.
wallet.
Mein Magen
Now
knurrt
legend
jetzt
has
noch.
it,
Sag mal eben.
this was also used to create the sound of a certain 360-degree head turn of a demon-possessed child in a 1973 movie, if you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So if you twist it, it should sound like this.
Na, knirscht schön.
Hello? Can you hear that at all?
Das ist ganz fein.
It's pretty quiet, but don't worry. I have a recording of this.
Ist sehr
Turn
still,
it up.
ja.
This is what it should sound like. Okay. Let's see how that
Das
might
klingt zum
work
Teil wie
in the
knarzende
video.
Dielen. Wie auf dem Schiff oder so. So ein bisschen.
One more. All right. Not bad. I cheated a little bit. I snuck in the sound of her clackety hair at the last take there.
Sich so viel Mühe zu geben, dass man für jede Bewegung, für alles, was man da tut, ein Geräusch gibt.
There's another important aspect to our craft. Sound design.
Das ist schon faszinierend. Das ist schon super interessant.
Apart from just complementing what you see on screen with sound, and that is the impetus of sound, right? How do we decide what sound should play? Why is something heard or not heard, right? What is the motivation? What are we communicating? Let's
Entschuldigung,
watch
ich muss
this
mich gerade
segment
beobachten, wie
again,
ich hier
this
esse.
time with the dialogue, and see if you can tell what's actually being conveyed here. Here we go.
Worlds destroyed. There's blood on my hands. I need to cleanse it. This is my destiny.
So what's happening here? She says, "This is my destiny." But what does she mean?
Mein Schicksal.
So in movies, dialogue is what is said, but subtext is what is meant. So what is the subtext here? This is the moment where Kerrigan commits to her humanity again, right? We've waited so long through StarCraft 1 and Brood War, and Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, and now finally, in Legacy of the Void, Kerrigan chooses redemption to undo that tragedy and betrayal that's accompanied her for all this time. So how do we convey that through audio? Should we make her sound all leathery and sinewy, like a crazy Zerg creature? But it works to the visuals. Now see, that would be exactly opposite of what we're trying to convey here, which is her humanity, her human side, not her crazy monster side, right? In this instance, story dictates what you hear, not the visuals. Narrative drives the sound design. So, and we don't want an alien sound, that sound of that kink in her neck when she turns her head, to detract away from the humanity at this moment. So let's have a listen to this version.
Worlds destroyed. There's blood on my hands. I need to cleanse it. This is my destiny.
Dum, 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 Drama.
That's a kinder, gentler version, right? More accessible. So knowing when not to use a sound is just as important as knowing when to use a sound, right? Let's do another one. You all know this guy? That's Alarak.
Wenn ich mich da beim Essen beobachte, kriege ich nur noch mehr Hunger.
Now, what would his footsteps sound like? Right? He's one big burly evil dude. He's wearing powerful heavy armor adorned with terrazine-fueled blood shards with bane blades attached to his forearms. He should sound large and foreboding and weighty, right? Maybe something like this.
Alter, das Stampfen, ey. Wie so ein halber Godzilla.
Okay, cool. Let's break down the individual elements.
Hey, diese Geräusche sind schon beeindruckend. Gerade so ein schweres Stampfen, ey.
Edited bits of character armor movement from our awesome Foley artists. Okay?
Ja.
Next, rattling metal latches. Okay. Third up, stomping around in a big metal dumpster wearing ski boots.
Jeez.
All right. And as always, we like to try something a little less obvious.
Blizzard hat doch alles bei sich irgendwie.
Interior car door slams, which means they were recorded from inside the car. They sound way different when you record them from outside the car. So this is what it sounds like unprocessed. Okay, and this is what it sounds like after processing and some audio alchemy. Okay, once again, everything all glued together.
Erstaunlich, ja.
Cool. Okay.
Kommt's einfach so zusammen und dann hast du was Schönes.
What did I just do wrong? What's Alarak's personality like? Right? Even though he's this big, hefty, intimidating guy, he's not straight-laced. Right? He's really snarky and conceited. He's got a sarcastic, sneering wit about him. Here, listen to the way he talks.
Oh, well, this is truly a miracle.
Ah, did you hear that? What a cynic. And the hubris in his tone, right? How does this translate into the way he moves and carries himself? See, Alarak doesn't stomp. He doesn't do this. All serious and to the point, right? He's usually either really annoyed, like this. Oh, you fools. Why am I here? Oh, such a bother.
Oh, right? Man.
Super dramatic. Or he's really arrogant and bragging, like this. Oh, yeah, I'm Alarak. Tal'Darim. High Lord. You know, like that. Annoyed or arrogant. Take your pick. So the mistake I made here in sound design is I didn't take into account his character, right? His personality. And sound has to do all of that in trying to sell it. Alarak doesn't stomp. He saunters. He ambles. And what that means is a heel-toe sound. Something like this. Okay, so in the next video, notice how a heel-toe swagger, right, helps define Alarak's attitude and changes the vibe of the scene. Okay, here we go.
No. Hey, Mom. Through the breath of creation, I peer beyond the veil. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. What do you think?
Oh, yes.
So, using that heel-toe sound, the scene feels more laid back. It emphasizes his attitude more, his mockery, his snickery, right? It can be a bit subtle to pick up, but there's another saying in sound design. We love subtlety, just make it obvious. You gotta be able to hear it first for it to be anything. So today we looked at two examples of sound design 201, where the visuals aren't the primary motivator for what you hear, where we've gone beyond see a dog, hear a dog. Sometimes it's the narrative, the story that drives the sound design. Other times it's the character and personality. Now, as for sound design 301, that will be for a future Blizzcon. I hope you enjoyed the class. Next up, senior sound designer Jeff Garnett from Overwatch. Thank you.
Overwatch, Overwatch. Ja, ich glaube, in der Zeit hat es, glaube ich, auch gesagt.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Jeff from the Overwatch team. Always wanted to say that. Thank you guys for being here. So we just saw
Geiles Shirt, ey.
how context and storytelling can
really drive our creative choices as sound designers. We saw earlier from Chris and Pedro how you can achieve really great results in sound design using small budget items, but big ideas.
Hätte ich genügend Kohle, würde ich den ganzen Store von denen leer kaufen.
I can shed some light on another side of the sound crafting process at Blizzard. So what happens after we record these sounds? You know, how do they become alive in the game and connect with the code? Now that's a process that as sound designers refer to as the implementation process. And I want to drill down on one of the most interesting aspects of implementation, in my opinion, and that is game-driven audio, hence the title. So what do I mean when I say game-driven audio? Well, simply, it is the way that the game data controls or manipulates sounds in real time. Now, why is that important for us sound designers? Well, because despite us making thousands of sounds to put in the game, the human brain does a really good job of picking up on key characteristics of sounds. Now, that can inform gameplay in a really positive way, things you want to notice over and over again. But it can also break the immersion. If something's on repeat like a broken record, it doesn't feel alive. So we can't put millions of sounds in the games because we have a memory budget. And we got to take in consideration load times and things like that. So we need variation, but we need a way to manipulate duplicate sounds and create variation. Thus, we can use game data to drive those sounds and create variation. And we do that in different ways. We can change the volume of sounds. We can change the pitch of sounds. As you saw earlier with Chris and Pedro, how Pedro was playing on the keyboard the same sounds, a higher pitch, lower pitch. We can do that in real time in the game. We can also do it with positioning. Where that sound exists in the world. Is it 200 yards away, or is it right next to your ear? And we can also do it with effects. We talk about processing sounds a lot. We use reverbs and delays and phasers and all kinds of things that are really hard to explain. But we can do that in real time as well. So how do we achieve that in Overwatch? Well, we have something we call data flow. Now, if you guys were at the Overwatch panel a couple years ago, senior sound supervisor, Paul Aki, my boss, he described data flow in an interesting way, like as a network of pipes where all the game data exists. And we can tap into those pipes, get the info that we need, and then we can drive our sounds that way. And we do that, for example, in different ways. For example, how far Junkrat's rip tire is off the ground to change the pitch of it. What your ammo count is, so we can change the sound of your weapon. When you get lower on the ammo, you know when to reload. Or that big, deep breath that your player makes when you're at low health. That's all data flow driving those things. For some more specific context, let's take a look at one of the heroes in our game, her abilities. Her ability.
Hello.
Ich brauch Heilung. Jetzt nicht mehr.
How many of you guys play Moira? All right. Some are familiar. So yeah, seems like a simple ability, right? 3 seconds, Genji's brought to his knees.
3 seconds.
But what you're actually hearing there is a network of looping sounds, layered, and single one-shot sounds, all working together, all using data flow and real-time parameter controls to make up that one ability. So to break even further down, let's start with a common data flow that we use a lot. Duration. You guys see that? All right. Duration is just a period of time that a sound is alive. We use it on looping sounds a lot. As I previously mentioned, we have to save memory. We can't make really long looping sounds. So when I say looping sound, that's just a single sound that plays on repeat on a loop. So we have to make them a couple seconds long, and we have to give the illusion that they're much longer by using data flow to drive them with the previous methods that I had mentioned. So for Moira's biotic grass, we wanted to emphasize dynamic intensity, and duration was perfect for that. So in the next video, I'm going to show our main integration tool and a few layers. First, an airy suction layer. And the way that it works with duration is it starts off really intense, and then we bring it back down and then build it back over time. So the longer you use it, it's going to start to intensify. And then we have like a ghostly voice layer. I'm going to use air quotes a lot. Sorry. A ghostly voice layer that's also going to use volume over duration to drive that intensity. And then finally, an energy layer where we use pitch and a low-pass filter. And when I say low-pass filter, you can think of filtering as like a gate for frequencies. A low-pass filter, we lift that gate and we let all those bassy frequencies through first, and then over duration, the trebly ones come through. So let's take a look at that.
Ja. Ja, das ist schon erstaunlich. Alleine nur für diese eine Fähigkeit, hier haben sie so viele Geräusche dazu gemacht.
Alright, pretty cool, right?
Jedes einzelne davon ist wirklich auch da drin zusammengemischt.
Kind of like our meat and potatoes of the sound. It was starting to become organic and feel alive.
Das klingt schon wirklich krass
But we had
dann.
some problems with it just cutting through the mix. Through, you know, we have gunfire and explosions. We needed something really like piercing and tonal. And we needed some other way to drive it. It didn't feel reactive to the damage that you were doing. So we siphoned some other data from the code and we called it target health percentage. And that's just, it tracks the target's health pool. So as the health pool gets lower, we're able to drive the sounds in different ways. So in the next video, I wanted you to notice how we use target health percentage to drive volume and pitch to emphasize the intensity as the health pool gets lower.
Klingt wie so ein pfeifender Wind ein bisschen.
So when I was creating Moira's sound kit, I really wanted to sell this theme that she was like a walking chemistry set. And I had all these bubbling liquid sounds that I wanted to use for the tank that she had on her back. And I wanted to tie to how much like healing juice that she had. So basically, the more damage you do, that tank fills up. And the more healing juice that you use, that tank empties out. So you'll see on the next video how these volume and pitch curves, it looks like a half pipe. So when it fills up, you hear the sound, the pitch rises, and then when it empties out, same thing. And for additional immersion, we're able to use a 3D positioning panner. So we can move that sound to the position where it sounds like it's on her back. That's even more noticeable in surround setups if you have one, or if you're using headphones, we have a Dolby Atmos setting you can flip on. So let's take a look at that. Finally, we needed something really satisfying to punctuate those eliminations. And it's not a looping sound, but we can use data flow to trigger what we call effect actions. And it's simply when the biotic grass is used and the target is out of health and dies, we trigger that effect action. It plays a one-shot sound event. Let's hear what that sounds like. Super satisfying. So finally, I know I've been talking a lot. I'm really thirsty as a result, but let's recap these layers and see them in context with the game.
Wie man das so sieht, so einzeln jedes Geräusch einmal damit. Das ist Sci-Fi auf höchstem Niveau. Quick. Ja, dann alles zusammen. Damn.
Pretty crazy, right?
Krass, Alter.
We're a little bit
Wie
behind.
es dann sich am Ende angehört hat.
I gotta kick rocks, but I just want to leave you guys with this. We just took a look at one ability from one hero in Overwatch. Now, imagine that scale translated to all of her abilities and her dialogue. Now, imagine that scale translated across 29 heroes now. So I hope you enjoyed a peek under the hood, so to speak, on Overwatch. Up next to talk about the practical use of science and sound design is lead sound designer from the Heroes of the Store team, Sean Minot. Thank you, guys.
This is Heroes of the Storm. La 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 la.
Behind me. This is our newest hero to enter the Nexus. This is Orphea. She's the graceful yet fierce daughter of the Raven Lord who discovers that she's the only one that can stand against her father and the Dark Nexus. But next to her, that's her ancestral magic that we like to call Chomp. Now, Chomp is this terrifying monster that lives inside that coffin-shaped box that she carries on her back. And Orphea commands this shape-shifting energy, bending it to her will, transforming it into such terrifying forms as this. And it is this form that we're going to talk about today. The sound of Chomp. So we have to ask ourselves a few questions. What stuff is Chomp made of? What type of energy drives it? But more importantly, what type of sound does this energy make? So let's break it down. Let's really get scientific. Sound is basically energy traveling through stuff, causing it to vibrate and make noise. So what would vibrate in a way that could be compelling for Chomp? What could we possibly record that could solve this equation? Slime! Slime is this mysterious, gooey, liquidy stuff originally sold to us as a toy in the 70s. It's slime. And it's meant to be played with by squeezing and stretching with your hands, and it holds its shape, tends to hold its shape well with little or no mess. And depending on what you do with it, depending on what energy you put into this stuff, and in this case air,
ich wette, dass ich bestimmt gleich wieder loslache.
Surprisingly cool sounds. So let's shift here and we'll look at Chomp in game. Here he is, or it is.
Das komische Vieh, was auch immer das sein soll.
FX Artistry and Vadim Baklachev for his model and base textures.
Das Ding erinnert mich irgendwie an irgendwelche anderen Kreaturen, aber ich weiß nur nicht woher.
Much like slime. The textures resemble the fluid properties of slime. It's a magical blend of a liquid form weaving together. So to get a better idea of what I'm talking about with the slime, let's bring out the slime. All right.
Also der Typ sieht schon aus wie so ein perfekter Professor oder wie ein Wissenschaftler. Der sieht im Großen und Ganzen schon echt so danach aus.
Sonically, it's not very interesting, right? But it can be very expressive depending on what you do with it. It produces thick squishes and bubble pops and squeals, and then it returns to its original form, just like Chomp. So, right now I'd like to cut to a video. Luckily, we were able to capture some of the slime and bring it into the Foley studio and record it. And so right now I'd like to cut to a video of us playing with that in our Foley room. This is Galaxy slime, a few of them in my hand. and the end of a turkey baster, and I'm trying to get in the turkey baster while I'm filling with bubbles. Here we go.
Die müssen schneller, aber die müssen ruhig sein. Das ist schlimm.
Those are the best.
The big one.
Alleine von so einem Geräusch, ey. Da kann man sich ja gar nicht beherrschen, ruhig zu sein. Das ist, als ob einer scheißen geht, ey.
It makes some really fun noises, and it can really apply to a lot of different areas of the game. But what I like about slime is that it produces few bubbles or micro bubbles when it's agitated. When we're trying to get these types of noises, when you're using other substances like, say, water or something else, all the little bubbles create noise, and it's hard to get rid of those noise. And if you want to get just the major players, the major bubble pops to sound just nice, then slime is what you want to go to. So also, you can perform the slime. You can hold it in your hands and inject your own
Alter, mein
energy.
früheres Ich esse die so schöne Bulette und ich hungere hier.
You know, bending her ancestral magic to her will.
Auf dem Video
This is
mache
it.
ich mir was, ey.
You can play with it and manipulate it endlessly, and you get happy accidents. You get sounds you wouldn't normally get if you may want to reach to a library or something. You can just keep recording nice, wonderful, expressive sounds. And also, there's different types of slime, right? There's the galaxy slime that I'm referring to, but there's slime that can be made out of glue and shampoo, and you can put things in it, and it all makes different types of sound depending on how you agitate it, so to speak. So right now, we're going to take a look and listen to some different types of slime that we used in our design. Sure, yes, there's this store-bought slime, this over-the-counter slime, so to speak, but I discovered a whole world of slime and custom slime recipes online, which inspired us to experiment and possibly get different sonic
Diese
results.
selbstgemachten Schleimdinger.
I'd like to invite our volunteer to come up here and make some slime with us and see if we can make some fun noises. What do you say?
Viele sehen ja schön aus. Ist ja. Aber
I'm doing well.
trotzdem so. Ja.
What's your name?
Griffin.
Griffin, how are you doing?
I'm doing
Kann
well.
ich gar nicht.
Awesome. You having a good BlizzCon?
I've had an amazing BlizzCon.
Well, it's gonna get you.
Alter, diese Frisur.
Are you familiar with slime?
Yes.
You are. Do you own
Diese
slime?
Vogelnestmatte.
Oh, good. Your mom is probably happy about that. Okay, well, this is the slime. It's right here. It looks kind of jiggly.
Wubbel,
This is the same
wubbel.
baster that we use. We use this because it injects a nice burst of air and it's easy to hold. So I'm going to hold this, and you get right over to this microphone and see if you can
Und jetzt geht das Gescheiße weiter
make
los.
some fun sounds.
All right.
Let's see. Let's hold it in your hand.
Okay.
Wir müssen alle lachen, ey. Es klingt einfach dämlich.
So it'll take a little practice.
So, wenn er richtig fett scheißen geht. Oder dabei richtig einen abfurzt, was weiß ich, ey. Ja, wenn man sowas hört, kann man doch sowas sagen, also. Alleine das Geräusch ist ja schon und das Niveau. Das ist sowieso egal.
Time for science. Right?
Ja, Zeit für Wissenschaft.
All right. Okay.
Wissenschaft, hier bin ich.
Sorry, people. Okay, time for science. Now, what we're going to do right now is we're going to make some slime out of normal household stuff. But before we do that, we are going to play the sounds that we did in the studio with the Galaxy slime.
Als würde dein Schleimmonster Beatboxen, ey. So hört sich das an. Das klingt aber trotzdem, ey, so nach. Ne? Nach Gescheiße.
So right now it's time for science, and we're going to do this. These are the ingredients that we're going to use. We're going to use borax, which is an activator. We're going to use standard white glue, which is household craft glue. And it's 2 parts, 1 part water. Now what this is going to do is we're going to mix this into this, and it's going to dissolve while we're talking. Now what we're going to do is pour this water into there, and you're going to mix it up. And mix that up together. All right. So what this is going to do is make it a nice soapy mixture.
Ist aber ein bisschen komisch.
Less glue. And we take this and we pour this in. Now this water and this activator is going to cause this glue and the water to congeal, to become more like slime. So let's give vigorous movements. As you can see, it's already sticking to the spoon.
Ja, ein bisschen mehr mit Gefühl, nicht so, dass das rausspritzt.
So what I've done
Könnte.
is pre-made some slime. So what we're going to do is check out and hear what this particular type of slime might sound like, separate from the galaxy slime we had here. So let's see if you can do this.
Dann das Endergebnis. Alter.
There you go. There you go. So you can see, you can really get in there, and there's no mess. And it really makes it easy to record and really organic to get some fun stuff out of it. So, right now I'm going to play for you the sounds that we did with this in the studio. So you can see that sound is a little more aggressive. It sounds a lot different than this type of slime. There's a little bit more of an edge, a little more of a bite. And so we would use this type of sound maybe on an impact or a launch, or if he's launching her ancestral magic and this sound may come off her, or you hit her with chomp or damage and you'll hear combinations of these types of slime. Now, what we are going to do right now is the grand finale. And we are going to give Chomp a voice, right? Evan was talking about what are the motivations behind the sounds that we choose. And when we look at this picture and we see Chomp, we see, you know, what are we trying to convey? He's really dangerous, open mouth, really threatening. I don't see a tongue or anything that could do major vocalizations, but what we do have is slime, and what we do have is air, and we have the ability for you to give Chomp a voice. Are you ready?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to make sounds for Chomp slithering by and screaming and generally being Chomp, all right? So how are we going to do that? With Blizzard Air, right here. And you are going to inject this into this as you're holding it, and we are going to hear Chomp live.
Oh nein.
All right. So by regulating the air, and by moving the air around and creating the cavity, we can get Chomp to perform. So, I'd like to thank Griffin for coming out here today. Thank you very much. Big hand. Backstage. There you go. Oh. Griffin. So right now what we're going to do is hear what we recorded in the studio using this air, using the Galaxy Slime, and direct recording with one mic, basic, simple stuff, and we use this to get just the aggressive, fun energy that we get out of Chomp.
In so einem Spiel kriegt man das einfach gar nicht mit bei all den anderen Sounds und Musik. Aber wenn man das so einzeln hört, ganz alleine, Alter. Das klingt,
Pretty awesome. So you all know how it works. We're gonna do some Q&A if you guys want to line up. There's a mic over there. Is there a mic over here? There's a mic over there too. Yeah, so line up and everybody's gonna come out and we'll.
Bei den paar Minuten wollen sie noch eine Fragerunde machen, ey.
Did you all know that
die 8 Minuten da gerade
the bed sheet
mal.
that we had, you can also use those for wing flaps. That's pretty cool, right? I think we used it for some of the stuff on Mists of Pandaria as well. And like you saw earlier on, you can actually use the tape gun that we had. You can use tape for electricity too. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's another one. Another one for electricity is styrofoam. That's a one that I think we may have mentioned before. That's pretty cool as well. But it's not as, we were gonna use styrofoam today, but it's really messy and it's not always guaranteed to make a cool sound. So I think the chairs are almost set up. So I think we're gonna bring everybody back out.
Stühle!
Yeah, come on, y'all. There we go. Cool. All right. There we go. All right. Woohoo. First question. That's a huge I know who's going first. Who's going first? Is you? Is you over here?
I guess. Hi.
How's it going?
Hi.
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Schöne Jacke.
Thanks. What's up? What's your question?
So I'm based out of Chicago. I do production sound for film and movies.
Cool.
So I record the dialogue and everything, but your world is so cool. Like half the story is told through sound. So I just kind of wanted to ask, you know, when you're faced with like these new characters and these new kind of
Das ist so eine schöne Jacke, ey.
Characters or their instruments or their weapons.
Das Ding ist einfach. Warte mal ganz kurz noch. Das Ding ist einfach bei dieser Jacke nämlich, also falls es noch keiner weiß, die ist doppelseitig. Das Ding ist einfach die kannst du wirklich beidseitig tragen und schöner ist einfach, es zeigt dir nämlich das Ganze zeigt die Symbolik, die Shimada-Brüder Hanzo und Genji. Das ist einfach, das ist krass, also hat man auch nicht alle Tage sowas, eine doppelseitige Jacke, in der du mal einfach mal Hanzo hast und dann auf der anderen Seite Genji. Das finde ich geil.
When you look at them, I just wanted to get more of an idea of your creative process. Like when you look at a new character, you know, what do you think of like, oh, this would be cool if we went out and took a microphone and recorded the sound?
That's a great question. Do you want to take that, Jeff?
Sure. Yeah, well, at least in the Heroes in Overwatch, I talk to Mike Chu, the writer. I talk to the gameplay designers before I even go and start a palette of sounds because I really want to know as much about that character and their backstory because every once in a while you get an adjective from them that like actually sparks something in your head. I think just looking at the visual effects to start with can sometimes inform you in the wrong way because oftentimes they change throughout the process. So you're really trying to get, like I said, like adjectives. So in the case of Moira, for example, going back to her, they kept using, I guess, indifference. And so like I really wanted to do the stark divide between like her evil side and like the healing side and kind of find a medium between that. And then beyond that, looking for how, like asking them what the technology was. And so I started going into more like air suction and bubbling water and thinking of ways to tie liquids with like her mechanics and then just like what around our studio and our office would make clickety-clacking sounds like her Foley and things like that. So I don't know, I kind of rambled a bit there, but does that answer your question? Does anybody else want to add to that?
That's great. Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Oh, thank you for the question. Cool.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hello. Just rapid fire favorite character you've made sound for.
Ooh. Let's start on that.
Wrecking Ball.
Wrecking Ball.
Is that favorite character?
Favorite character.
Oh, favorite character. Favorite character.
A tough one. Thank you.
That's a tough one.
Good question.
It's like choosing your own, like which one of your kids is your favorite kind of.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, a lot goes into creating sound for a hero, and by the time we're done with it, and it essentially gets born, it's like, it's such a great feeling that we're finally done with that. And to say that we love one more than the other feels weird. I guess Where I feel best challenged or where I feel like I'm pressed the most, I think those are the heroes that I feel most gratified for. And I'm happy with what we've done with Orphea. I think we've achieved a lot, and I think it really will read well in game.
I'd have to say Phoenix on Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, right on.
I would say Maya from Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, I'd say it's like bits and pieces from different characters. I don't know if I would just call one character out, because there's always good things and bad things about your work, at least for me. So sometimes I like one thing really cool about this character, but not some other thing about this character that I did. And you know, just bits and pieces. That's how I would answer that question.
Cool. Believe that answered your question. Felipe, you got one?
I'd say the Luchihuahua, because that was literally just my Chihuahua that I recorded. Done. Nice. Sound design.
Nice one. I guess we'll go over here.
This one.
Let's go to the gentleman here.
All right, good afternoon. The question I wanted to know is, what is the technical settings on the microphone? Are they at high gain and mid-range and bass are all set flatline, or what are the settings for your microphone?
Flat. That depends on what you're recording.
Yeah. Chris, you want to field that one?
Well, like for voice.
Yeah, it depends on what you're recording, really. For the example that we used today, we used an SM58, which is a pretty standard microphone. The gain was pretty much cranked, and we're recording pretty close to it, close proximity. So, like for example, like the paper towels, I think you guys probably in the audience had a really hard time hearing them, but once we played them back, it represented the aggressiveness of those tears, like, pretty well. But, different microphones for different types of, tasks. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, if you're recording something super loud, like an explosion or something, or that's completely different than if you're recording something super quiet. Like you can barely hear the Foley that I did, right? So it all depends on kind of the source material that you're after, and your mic selection too, as well as the preamp that you're using. Yeah. A lot of things in play there.
It's really like the right tool for the right job, just like, like creating, like if you're like doing a carpentry work or anything like that, it's the same with sound as well. Hopefully that answered your question. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think we got time for one more.
Okay.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hey.
So my question is for the environmental sounds, more so than the character as they interact with the environment. Where do you feel like you get the best sounds and why?
That's a great question.
Where?
Yeah, where do you get the best environmental sounds?
Environmental, yes.
Okay, cool. Who wants to grab that one?
I'll talk about it a little bit. So creating environments, it really much depends on the environment. I've done environment sounds for World of Warcraft where, it really is an ethereal type setting, and you can take ordinary objects and manipulate and stretch them and be really imaginative with sound, and create that kind of bed setting. So you can take like an ordinary like bell or something and then stretch it out and weave it in volume like swells to kind of create the essence of something mystical was there at one time. And then you can weave in practical objects like, flapping of birds and put it on a small emitter that just triggers every once in a while in an environment. So it really much depends. Like, if you're going for a sci-fi futuristic city setting, you're kind of going to start with the base of an actual recording of a city and then kind of put in your little salt and pepper seasoning of your sci-fi elements on top of that. So
delicious.
Delicious. We use cooking analogies a lot.
Great. Okay, y'all, I think that's it for us. We're going to be over here, though. If you have any more questions, sorry if your question didn't get answered. If you have any other questions, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Be excellent to each other.
Thank you for your ears.
Cool.
Have a good Blizzcon.
Oh mein Gott, ich kann erlöst werden. Oh mein Gott. Fertig. Oh mein Gott, ich bin endlich erlöst, also... das war's auf jeden Fall. Ich hoffe, das stört euch natürlich nicht allzu sehr, dass ich da jetzt zweimal zu sehen war. Es ist ja nur dieses eine Video. Das ist ja nur das ist das einzigste damit. So. Wir sind eigentlich schon längst die ganzen E-Sport-Videos da eigentlich nachzuholen, aber ich komme jetzt erst dazu, oder kam jetzt dazu, das neu aufzunehmen. Auch, dass man mich auch hört, weil sonst habe ich halt nicht viel Zeit gehabt, also musste das auch halt einfach in der Früh machen, weil ich brauche jetzt sonst keine Störenfriede irgendwie. Wie sonst auch, wenn man in den Videos hört. Aber das will ich ja so. Hier ist das ja einfach nur eine Neuaufnahme. Nochmal, weil verkackt. Deswegen. Ja, dann wünsche ich euch auf jeden Fall viel Spaß mit den nächsten Videos, die dann folgen.